So, what's the difference between a spiritual connection and a spiritual belief? Because one of them can lead to you having a miserable, terrible life and claiming that you know your God or your higher power, your spiritual leader. And one of them leads to an amazing, happy life where you show people that you have the faith and the belief versus just talking about it. So, the significance of this difference cannot be understated because I've watched people who claim to have really deep and spiritual beliefs drink themselves to death into an alcoholic coma. Or I've even seen them blow their freaking brains out. I've also seen them go on to be very lonely and disconnected from their family. So, what is the difference? What's the difference between somebody who says they have a spiritual connection and a spiritual belief? Here's what I've learned. So, I had a friend named Tom. Tom was a pastor of a church, and this guy was very devout. He spoke the gospel. I think he was Baptist, whatever, every Sunday, telling people what happened in the Bible and how, when, why they should act. Tom could recite the Bible front to back, giving you all the instructions you need to be able to live a happy and healthy life in the name of your Lord and Savior. But Tom dies a slow and painful alcoholic death. He was in AA, he was going to church, doing his thing with his family, but the drinking slowly but surely took over his life. And it seemed like no matter how much he prayed to God, nothing worked. And that's one of the first lessons I learned about what it is to have a spiritual belief and a spiritual connection. Tom always wondered, why is it that all these alcoholic bums in AA are able to live happy and free lives, but me, someone who has devoted their life to God and preaches the gospel, yada yada, is sitting here dying? And therein lies the distinction between a spiritual belief, the knowledge of God, the understanding of God, versus a spiritual connection with God. Now see, don't misunderstand this. Tom wasn't a bad guy, but to say that he was living in what he was preaching would have been a stretch. Giving of yourself on a daily basis, wondering how you can help people. How can I go out and physically get out there and give back to God's children? Was not something that Tom actively participated in. And although he knew exactly what he should have done, he did not take action into those things he should have done. So the connection stopped there. The connection between him and his higher power was never built. It's like a bridge that got started but then stopped as it got like halfway through. They were never holding hands. So that spiritual hole that needs to be filled in every human being on this earth was never, ever made. And because the spiritual connection was never made, he was not able to see why alcohol, in his case, for us it could be drugs, it could be food, it could be sex, it could be workaholics, it could be anything, was not replaced by that spiritual connection. And that's when I finally realized what it meant in that verse in the Bible. And I'm not no Bible reader, I only hear the lines here and there, but let me tell you something. Even just hearing this line and then seeing this happen was enough for me to be like, oh shit, that makes sense. Faith without works is dead. And unfortunately, in Tom's case, that fruition came true. And no, you don't have to be drinking alcohol or doing some other dangerous kind of substance to be able to die, because you can die internally and spiritually and still be on this earth. And honestly, I don't know which one is worse. So the lesson that I took here, and the lesson that was able to help me quit drinking alcohol, quit smoking so much weed and cigarettes, quit doing things on a day-to-day that would kill me, was take action on these things I was learning about being spiritual, not just understanding them and talking about them. Some of the things that I do is I go back and I give to the community that I got sober in. I go to those guys, I help them get through the AA book, and I help them implement those things that I learned. On a day in, day out basis, I actively look for ways to help my family and my community. I'm always helping my mom around the house. I'm always seeing if my friends need help with anything, volunteering to be designated drivers for special occasions where they need to make sure they get home safely. I always make sure to pack up a lot of food for my house. We have lots of excess. My mom cooks a lot. Nice little lunches, drinks, food, napkins, forks, and go give it to the homeless. These are thoughts that used to cross my mind all the time, but I didn't take action on them because I didn't realize how significant they were to the spiritual connection. So if you're ever wondering why is it you see somebody who speaks about how spiritual they are and speaks about what it means to have a spiritual connection, and then watch their actions and see how contradictory it is to what they actually say versus what they do, now you can see what's happening. And you can also see this in your own life. If you're praying all the time, praying for yourself, praying for others, whatever, you're reading the Bible, great, awesome beginning, right? But it's just a beginning. That doesn't mean anything towards your relationship with God. That's like telling your spouse all these amazing things you're gonna do for them, but then never actually execute on what you're gonna do for them. So take a moment to reflect in your life and reflect on your connection and reflect on your relationship with God and think, am I doing all the things that I'm preaching? Am I doing all the instructions that your relationship with God requires? Whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, doesn't matter. What are you actually doing to build that connection instead of just talking about?